Come on boys, I've finished you at last. It's our time. We're going to flow across these marshes like a green tide.
But sir, I'm an hobgoblin, see, and I'm not green.
I'm an hobgoblin too, but I self-identify as an orc. Okay, I'll just get on with it.
I'll run you through some key features of this mammoth modelling project. Back in October 21, I bought the Kruleboyz miniatures from the Dominion box set. I really liked their low-tech, sinister vibe, and I particularly wanted to model some marshy bases. In November 22, data was released showing they are not particularly competitive. I've never played Age of Sigmar, so this was principally a modelling project, and there's something liberating fielding an army where you aren't expected to win. Because of this, the points values are constantly evolving, and I now have a spare 60 points to play with, which could mean a few changes in the future. I've done 2 separate videos on the creation of the huge Skitterandirachnaroks, which are allies from the Gloomspite Gits faction. My first project was these 10 Gutrippaz. I wanted them to look like they were emerging from the marsh. From left to right, you can see how each model is rising a little bit more from the swamp. I appreciate it may seem bonkers spending days converting run-of-the-mill battle line units, but for me this is where the real joy lies. The Dominion box set doesn't come with a musician or standard bearer, and I had to create these from my bits box. The musician is beating a handbell against the skull of a giant, while the body on the standard is from the spear on the corpse cart. Sometime later I made a large unit of 20 Gutrippaz modelled to be in the water and emerging onto the wooden walkways of an unsuspecting settlement. All of these figures are converted. For one standard I used the skeleton in a gibbet taken from the Man-Crusher Gargant sprue. I also used the upper body of a Snatcher boss to create the top of the other standard and the unit leader. I had a lot of fun with these figures. One orc is using a breathing tube to sneak through some floating debris, another is protecting himself from incoming arrows as he creeps through some bulrushes, and the third is pushing a floating barrel ahead of him. Here I use silicone gel to create a splash as an orc falls through rotten planks into the marsh. Although these orcs are sinister, I did want there to be some light-heartedness too. These orcs are just emerging from the marsh next to the walkways. One of them is at the end of a jetty and is stabbing up, maybe at a surprise sentry. One orc is wading around on stilts, using his spear to steady himself. The general of my army is either a Snatcher boss or Swamp boss Scumdrek. To cover these options, I used Scumdrek's body but replaced his clawed hand and man-catcher with a grappling hook made of some modelling chain and a few bits I cut off the Hobgrot slitters. I added a cage at the back of the Marshcrawler Sloggoth, again taken from the Man-Crusher Gargant sprue, replacing the chains of the original model. I'm not sure if I will be fielding this Gargant now. It was a Gloomspite Gits ally before I introduced the spiders. I love this figure, especially the mud oozing between his toes. To mark him as an ally of the Kruleboyz, I created a breastplate of Kruleboyz shields that I hung from his collar using modelling chain. The centerpiece of the army is Gobsprak. I spent a lot of time on the base, in particular creating a fallen log from air-drying clay and adding moss to try to replicate this scene that Max was keen to show me. That's it. I hope you like this run through. Leave a comment to let me know what you think. Bye. One orc is wading around on stilts, using his spear to steady himself.